What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another Madden 17 online ranked match game. Today we have the Super Bowl 51 matchup, the Patriots and the Falcons. But once again, we will not be talking too much about the gameplay. That'll just be in the background while we continue our two-part series recapping the aftermath of Super Bowl 51. And yes, Super Bowl 51 and not Super Bowl 52. Like I said in the previous video, there was about 100 comments in the comment section saying Super Bowl 52 never happened. It's not Super Bowl 52, it's 51. What are you talking about? So yeah, it's definitely 51. So like I said, there's so much to cover that happened. We covered the Falcons side of the spectrum. Now we're moving on to the Patriots side of what happened on that fateful Sunday night. How they dug themselves into a 28-3 hole, and how they miraculously got themselves out of that hole to win the Super Bowl. So first we'll cover what went wrong for the Patriots and what the Falcons' game plan was that was going right. And the main thing that was going right, which you can definitely tell throughout that game, was the pass rush of the Falcons. They weren't sending many people, usually 4, maybe 5, no all-out blitzes or anything, but they were getting to Brady. And you guys know that's the one weakness of Tom Brady and pretty much any quarterback. The Broncos didn't last year in the AFC title game. The Giants did it in the 2 Super Bowls with Tuck and Umanura and Strahan and all those guys. Just only sending 4, putting 7 in coverage, and still getting pressure on Tom Brady. And, you know, he's knocked off his spots. He's forced to throw the ball quicker than he wanted to, and that's how the pick 6 happened. He threw the ball quicker than he wanted to. Alford jumps the passing lane, and bam, he's gone for 6 free points and eventually 7 free points. But those guys on the defensive line, it wasn't even Vic Beasley, the guy you might expect to take over for Atlanta. He got shut down pretty well by Marcus Cannon the entire night. But Nate Soldier had a disastrous game at the left tackle position. Dwight Freeney was giving him all sorts of moves. And Grady Jarrett had a career game inside. 3 sacks for the nose tackle. And those guys were just having a field day in there. And what ended up winning the game for the Patriots and really turning it around was their defensive line. That battle in the trenches, man. The Super Bowl, you know, you bring all these great quarterbacks and all this, and great secondaries, whatever it may be, but it feels like it always comes down to that battle on the defensive line. It was very defining about what happened. So that's how they got down the hole. And then the defense, it was never really an elite defense to begin with. It's a good defense. They have two of the best game planners, and Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia on, you know, game planning defensively, how to take guys out the game. You guys saw when the Steelers played them a couple of weeks ago, Antonio Brown completely taken out the game by the double coverage, and then Malcolm Bowen took out everyone else. But the Falcons, they just had so many weapons, and more importantly than anything else, a run game that was working and forcing the Patriots to commit to that run game, that sweeping run game, those pitches outside and all that with Devontae Freeman as we leap with Michael Bennett right there. And the Falcons just got away from that. They were doing very good. The one thing they definitely weren't doing was, you know, getting success on third down, as we covered previously, and that, you know, contributed to the lack of time of possession the Falcons had. That definitely cost their defense later on as the game went on. But yeah, they were doing, you know, not that great of a job, but eventually the main thing that changed in the second half, it wasn't really coverage schemes, it was just getting pressure to Matt Ryan. And this time it's Chris Long coming in the game. Chris Long barely played in the first half. He came in, he started getting pressures. I believe he forced one of the holding penalties on Jake Matthews that knocked the Falcons out of field goal range. Trey Flowers had a career game as we absolutely murder shot this dude with Patrick Chung, who was playing pretty well in the secondary. But yeah, it was, you know, Trey Flowers had 3 sacks. Alan Branch inside was playing pretty well. Jabal Sheard was getting some pressures. And the Falcons' offensive line was playing pretty well for them, especially in the playoffs. And they kind of let them down in that situation. And then, of course, that one play where Devontae Freeman misses the block on Dante Hightower. And that allows Matt Ryan to get knocked down before he even expects to get knocked down, fumble the ball. Patriots pick it up. And that's what really sparked the comeback. The comeback wasn't really on until that play. When that play happened, you knew shit was about to go down, pardon my language. But before then, even, you know, if you watch enough Tom Brady and you watch enough Patriots football over the years, when they go down 25 points, you know the game is not over yet. The game is never over with Tom Brady at the quarterback position. I remember one Sunday night football game, they were playing against the 49ers, went down 28-0. I believe it was like 5 years ago. And Tom Brady stormed the Patriots. Miracle comeback. They tied the game up. Now the 49ers ended up winning that game eventually. And this was when Kaepernick was the quarterback. And they had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis and all those bad boys on the defensive side of football. But still, just the fact that they were able to make that comeback to tie the game is just that Brady's a competitor that is different than everyone else on the planet pretty much, besides like the Michael Jordans of the world or something like that. They just don't like losing to this extreme point where when they're down, their backs are against the wall, they somehow get better. And that's what Tom Brady did. And Tom Brady, for some reason, never performs at a Tom Brady-like level in Super Bowls. But the one thing he does do is he closes the games out for the most part. He comes out clutch, and he did that big time against the Atlanta Falcons. Once his offensive line provided him just enough time, once that pass rush got tired, Brady was hitting the marks. But let's not sugarcoat things. Brady probably threw the game-losing interception to Julian Edelman when he threw it into like triple coverage, and Edelman got that spectacular catch that saved the Super Bowl. But you know what? It wasn't caught, and Brady continued moving the ball downfield. It's a what-if thing. It's like what happened with the Seahawks 2 years ago or 3 years ago when Jermaine Kearse got that ridiculous catch. Russell Wilson pretty much threw the game-losing pick in the Super Bowl, but instead, they had a chance to win the game, and of course they blew that. But that was, Tom Brady at his finest right there. He didn't play good in the first half. He made some mistakes. Yeah, there was pressure, but, he did force some throws. The Alfred throw was definitely something that did not need to happen, and it was very costly. You can't throw pick sixes and expect to win games in the playoffs. They just, got aided by some really bad play calling by the Atlanta Falcons. And the other big thing that the Patriots did, not only did they get the pressure, they were sending 5 guys on blitzes a lot. And that's one thing that the Patriots did that the Falcons never did defensively. They changed up their game plan, and it worked out for them big time. Once they started sending 5, the Falcons kind of panicked a little bit. Speaking of panic, this guy definitely panicked right here. I accidentally recommit right there. I don't know how the hell he didn't take advantage of that. He had to do downfield open for a touchdown. Instead, 4th and 14 is going to go for it and run with Matt Ryan, which is not really a good decision. The Falcons didn't make good decisions overall, but if you play that game 100 times differently, this Falcons versus Patriots Super Bowl, it ends a lot of different ways, and there could be a lot of different winners, but it's just this Super Bowl finish that we got was the most spectacular ending ever, and you got to give a shout out to James White out the backfield. That was the one guy that the Falcons really could not game plan against. They did a good job shading Julian Edelman at times. Brady was making inaccurate throws at times. They did a decent job of taking Chris Hogan out the game, but whether it was, usually it's either Dion Lewis or James White that no one can cover, it seems like. No team has a guy that can cover those guys. In this game, it was James White coming out the backfield, 14 catches. I believe he got both 2-point conversions, if I'm not mistaken. He had the game of his life, and that's what they needed. The game of the life from, not exactly Chris Long, but the best game Chris Long's played in a while. Trey Flowers had the game of his life. Julian Edelman had the catch of his life right there. Julian Edelman always seems to be making these crazy plays in the Super Bowl. He got the game-winning catch in Super Bowl 49, I believe it was, against the Seahawks. So that's what it takes to make those kind of comebacks, and that's exactly what happened. You put the Patriots specifically down 25, they're probably not coming back more than 3 or 4 times because the Falcons probably managed the ball better in a different situation. But just everything that played out, everything that happened, it ended up being one of the most legendary Super Bowls we will ever see. And you got to tip your cap to the GOAT, Tom Brady. It is what it is, man. Like I said, Brady didn't play his best game, but when you do that, you can't compare different eras, I feel like, in quarterbacking or whatever sport it may be. Basketball, you can't compare LeBron and Michael Jordan and Elgin Baylor and, those kind of players. I don't know. I know I said Elgin Baylor of all people, not like Dr. J or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? You can't compare that. So you can't compare Tom Brady and Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana because there was just different rules, different eras, different athletes. But hey, for our era, for everything that's happened since Brady's entered the league, he's by far the GOAT. His resume says it. Is he the greatest of all time? It's hard to say because of eras, but you just got to tip your cap to Brady, and that's basically what the Falcons got to do at this point. That's all they can do. They can most people do not come back from that deficit, even as bad as the Falcons were calling plays, but in the situation, tip your cap to Brady, GG, and regroup for next year. And for the Patriots, celebrate that Super Bowl victory.